All right, what's up, everybody? It's KZ here. I'm going to go ahead and break down every single fight on UFC Perth, starting from the prelims, moving my way all the way up to the main event. So first things first, let's go ahead and get right into the first fight of the night. That's going to be Loma Lookboonmee versus Alexia Thainara. Now, my pick is going to be Alexia Thainara, but if she just ends up trying to have a technical kickboxing match with Lookboonmee, she's just going to get picked apart. Lookboonmee is a very composed striker. She's very technical and sophisticated. She's a high-level striker. Thainara isn't that great of a striker. She throws wide looping shots, but her ground game and her takedowns are nasty. She's got a big size advantage over Lookboonmee, which Lookboonmee, Loma's, I'm just going to say Loma's opponents usually do because, she's a small girl. She's an atom weight. If the UFC had an atom weight division, Loma would be fighting in there. But yeah, Thainara's got a good rhythm to her striking, but she's very wild with her punches. In Lookboonmee's loss to Lupi Godinez, Lupi was able to take her down. She was pressuring her a lot on the feet. She wasn't letting, Loma get comfortable and settle in with her striking, like usually the people that lose to her let her do. You can't let her get settled into a rhythm. You can't let her have a slow, technical, back and forth striking fight because she's very, very fluid on the feet. So if Loma can keep this fight on the feet for extended periods of time, and Alexia is not really trying to push and get in her face and make it a dog fight, then, she can get the win here. Loma's very good at fighting the clinch as a Thai fighter. But yeah, I like Thainara. I think that she's going to be able to put the pressure and the pace on Lookboonmee. She's going to be forcing takedowns. She's going to be bigger. She's going to have good control on the ground. She's going to be attacking submissions. But yeah, like I said, if Lookboonmee is able to keep this on the feet, she has great footwork, good striking instincts. She's not a complete fish out of the water on the ground. She beat Bruna Brazona's striking fight. And I don't really see Thainara having much success against her on the feet other than, just like blitzes and pushing her against the fence and just attacking her moving forward. She needs to get this fight to the ground if she's going to win. But Thainara is a dominant grappler and a good pressure fighter. So I think that she can get this done. Loma does well in slow-paced fights. But Thainara is going to bring the pressure here, and she should force the offensive wrestling. But yeah, if Loma just has her way and can pick her apart at range, she'll be perfectly happy doing that. So Thainara needs to force the fight and bring it to her. So yeah, moving along here, we got Brando Pericic versus Elisha Ellison. I'm going with Brando Pericic. I think that he can get this done here. He has more experience than Elisha Ellison. I like his boxing in close range. He's got good clinch elbows. He's surprisingly flexible for a big guy. He can get those head kicks up there. He's got fast hands. I watched Elisha, in his woman's name, and I wasn't very impressed. He's only really beaten like morbidly obese guys on the regional scene, and he's only been training for around 2 or 3 years. Both guys are relatively quick for men their size, but I think Brando's a little bit more experienced, has been training for longer, and I feel like he'll look good against Elisha Ellison getting a first-round stoppage or a second-round stoppage. And yeah, he's gotten choked out once before on his record, but like in his pro career, I should say. But now he's developed that part of his game. He's a purple belt now in jiu-jitsu. And, the guy that choked him out, he was whooping his ass before he got choked out. So in his only loss, he was looking good as well in that fight. So we'll see. I got Perisic beating Ellison. I feel like he just has more high-level experience in the training room and just, he's just been training longer overall. And he's 6'5". He's a big-ass dude. There's no information that you can see here on Elisha Ellison's height. I'm not too sure how tall this guy is, but I'm pretty sure Perisic will be the taller man in the cage at 6'5". He's a big-ass dude, and I like him to get it done by stoppage here. All right, so up next, we've got Michelle Montague versus Luana Carolina. Michelle Montague has won all her pro MMA fights via rear naked choke. I don't like the way that she looks on the feet, kind of, I would say very mediocre striking, to put it bluntly. Luana Carolina, if Michelle Montague can't get Luana down to the ground, then most likely she's going to lose. She's going to get outstruck to a decision. But, Luana Carolina she's not very good, man. I'm not very impressed with her watching the tape back. She's well-rounded. She's decent everywhere, but she's not like, wow, she's a great striker. She's a great grappler, great wrestler. She's just all right everywhere. Montague is very tenacious to get the takedowns in fights that I've seen, and she usually gets them up against bigger women at 145. She's moving down to fight Carolina at 135. Carolina fought at 125 before. She has a win over Lupita Godinez, but Lupita Godinez is 5'2". Michelle Montague is 5'9". She's a big woman. She's a lot bigger than Lupita, so it's not like Luana stuffed Lupita's takedowns. It's like, yeah, Lupita's fucking tiny, nowhere near as big as Michelle Montague. So I like Michelle Montague to get this done, most likely by submission. I think that she's going to be able to force the grappling. She's going to be able to have success like she has had in all of her pro fights. She's undefeated. All fights ended via finish, rear naked choke in the first or second round. Has she ever had any fights that got okay? Yeah, her second pro win, she got it in the third round, the rear naked choke, and the other 4 were in rounds 2 and 1. So I like Michelle Montague most likely by round 2 submission. I think that she's going to be able to get Luana Carolina down to the ground, and I think that she's going to be able to choke her out. So moving along, we got Colby Thicknesse versus Josias Musasa. How's that for last name, bro? Thicknesse, Colby Girth, Colby Width, Colby Length. All right. But Musasa's dangerous. He swings wide, powerful, telegraphed punches. He's got good cardio. He's strong as shit. He gets a little wild, but Musasa showed that in his Contender Series fight that he can wrestle defensively. However, the wrestler Musasa faced had no submission wins on his record. He's just kind of like a Merab type, before Merab choked out O'Malley, but he just or a Bilal type. He just gets to take down, controls you, doesn't really attack submissions. It's mostly just like, control time, stalling type of wrestling that he was going up against. Colby Thicknesse has 2 rear naked chokes on his record. Musasa lost his last fight via rear naked choke after getting dropped with a head kick as he dropped his left hand after moving out of a boxing exchange. The Carlos Vera just continued with the combo, just brought the right kick right over the top after throwing the straight cross and caught Musasa over his left hand that it was just down to his hip. And, Thicknesse is very mobile, moves around a lot with his footwork. He's got fast kicks. Thicknesse was outmatched against Topuria in his last fight. He took that on short notice. Excuse me. But yeah, good defensive head movement from Thicknesse. He got dropped in round 1 by Alexandre Topuria, but he wasn't completely just fucking flash knocked out, concussed. He got hit well. He got dropped, but he recovered well and he made the rest of the fight competitive. He's got good movement and volume. And yeah, he fought someone higher level in Topuria than Musasa has ever faced. And I think Thicknesse can be slick enough with the movement on the feet to win a decision. If he doesn't get caught by just a fucking crazy ass power punch. And he also just has better grappling. Maybe not just wrestling, but just jiu-jitsu. He's a lot cleaner. The guy's nickname is Slickness. Slickness, Thicknesse. My lispy ass is having a hard time saying that, but we got it. We're going Colby Thicknesse. We got Jamie Mullarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. I'm going with Rolando Bedoya, man. I just can't bring myself to pick Jamie Mullarkey. He's not a terrible fighter. He's really not. He's got decent striking. He's not bad. But his durability is just in question. Jamie Frankenstein Mullarkey, he's decently well-rounded. He can wrestle, solid footwork. He's got good kickboxing, but he's been knocked out 6 times in his career, man. Bedoya's never been KO'd. Bedoya is significantly more durable, has good defensive head movement, decent footwork in his own right. And, Bedoya lost to Jai Herbert, but he had a good performance against him. He cut him up. He was landing good shots. And Jai Herbert, I feel like, is definitely much better than Mullarkey. Mullarkey, I just feel like he's damaged, ring rusted. I don't know, man. I just feel like Bedoya can get this done. I'm picking against the Aussie in this one. Bedoya has solid footwork, like I said, cut up Jai Herbert in that competitive fight. So I think he can get this done. Mullarkey got dropped badly by Michael Johnson in his win against him. So it's like in almost every fight, this dude's either getting knocked out, or if he wins, he's just getting nearly fucking knocked out. So I think that Bedoya can get this done via TKO. I think that he can get him out of there. I think that he can land good hard shots, and Mullarkey's chin is just not going to hold up. And I think that he can run away with this one. All right, moving right on along, we got Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. Man, oh man, Oban Elliott got absolutely fucking destroyed in the wrestling by Seokyeon Ko in his last fight. Like, he just had no answers on the ground. He had no get-ups. Takedown defense was very suspect. And that fight was only about 3 or 4 months ago. That was June 21st. So that was only 3 months ago, man. I don't think that Oban will be able to fix a hole in his game that was that egregious in only 3 months. Micallef is a good grappler, but he has good rangy striking. He's not just a grappler. He's got good grappling, good cardio, good durability. Oban got absolutely exposed, just having terrible grappling and takedown defense. He couldn't get up or stop takedowns to save his life. So I like Micallef to win here, man. Maybe via decision or submission. Oban has good striking and good cardio, good footwork. He's solid on the feet. Oban, I feel like, has better boxing than Micallef. I'm sure he's going to be coming in fired up after getting fucked up in his last fight. But I like Micallef to frustrate Oban, pick him apart at range. Oban might even get into his head and fight emotionally, just try to take this dude's head off because he's just frustrated from his last performance. But potentially Oban can stay composed and get a win here because he is a talented striker. But Micallef has the potential to exploit him where he's weak in the grappling. So I like Micallef to get this done. I think that he's good enough on the feet to hang with Oban, and if he wants to, he can get this fight to the ground and he can exploit Oban where he's weak, where he's not as strong as he is on the feet. So yeah, moving along here, we got Andre Petroski versus Cam Rowston. I'm going to be picking Cam Rowston. I think that he can get this done. I think, he has good striking, much better striking than Andre Petroski. And Cam Rowston had good moments against Finney, the roid cheat, fucking just built like a fucking house just to go out there and hug people. He was able to get up, stop a few takedowns, and attack submissions off of his back. I don't know how you're going to submit Torres Finney. The guy's a fucking brick. But, Rowston knows that Petroski is just going to come in here to try to take him down, stall, avoid actually fighting, and just hug him the entire time, just like Finney did. So Cam Rowston, he's going to be good enough to stop takedowns, get up, and outstrike Petroski. We've seen Edmund Shabazian. Yes, he's made a lot of improvements from the times he's gotten destroyed on the fucking ground, but Shabazian has gotten destroyed on the ground, absolutely exploited, exposed, fraud checked, whatever you want to say about Shabazian. It happened to him on the ground when he's gotten fucked up. So Petroski was not able to have success against Shabazian. So I think that Rowston can, utilize the same kind of game plan as Shabazian. He's not as mobile with the footwork, but he is, a little bit more heavy-handed, I would think. It's just like, if Petroski just goes out there and wrestle fucks him because he is a good wrestler, I'll be frustrated, but I believe that the Australian can have a good performance here. I think that he can stuff the takedowns and, just outstrike Petroski for as long as the fight lasts. I like him to get a TKO here. He is an underdog, near even, but, he is a slight underdog. But I like Cam Rowston to get this done. I just feel like his striking is going to be good enough, and his defensive anti-wrestling is going to be good enough as well to get the win over Andre Petroski, who's, not very good on the feet, just goes out there to just try to fucking shoot takedowns like his life depends on it. And yeah, I guess I'm biased against those kinds of fighters. But, I'm going with Rowston. Now, we've got Navajo Stirling versus Rodolfo Bellato. And man, this isn't the only reason why I'm picking Stirling, but I just can't pick a quitter in Bellato. He tried to finesse a win over Paul Craig by DQ. He got up kicked, and then he looks to the referee, what the fuck? And then he's just asleep on the canvas. And like that whole acting that he was doing, like, get the fuck out of here, bro. You're trying to finesse a win against Paul Craig by DQ. Like, get the fuck out of my face. But Navajo Stirling, White Adesanya, he should get the win here. He's got fast and powerful striking. He's measured and has good footwork. Stirling does kind of load up a lot and telegraph his punches. He overthrows them. He does telegraph his punches, but he's got good fast kicks. But appearance-wise, Stirling, you would think that he would be a lot better than he actually is. But he's good. He's definitely good, but he's not that good. You would expect like Navajo Stirling would have gotten the finish against Tuko Tokos. He would have gotten the finish against Ivan Arslan, but he was close to finishing Ivan Arslan. He had Tuko Tokos just in survival mode, but he telegraphs damn near every punch he throws, man. It's just people could duck under his shots because he's just coming in trying to just land that big one, But, Stirling is kind of just like a meathead Adesanya. He's a jacked, athletic dude, good power. But yeah, I think that he can get it done here. Bellato's pretty flat-footed, and he was getting pieced up bad by Ihor Potieria. The only reason why Bellato won that fight was because he was about 20 pounds heavier than Potieria, the guy that was coming up from middleweight. He was just able to take Potieria's shots for the most part and bully him. He won't bully Stirling like that. And, Potieria versus Bellato was actually fight of the night. Potieria dropped the shit out of Bellato and almost finished him. The only reason why he didn't was just because as he was going for the finish, eventually Potieria just gassed out trying to finish Bellato. Bellato came back, took advantage of a gassed out Potieria, he just ended up taking him down, got into full mount and just threw endless little poop, ground and pound and got the stoppage. It wasn't anything crazy. He wasn't landing like extremely hard shots. He was just being consistent with the little tippy tap ground and pound punches on Potieria, and Potieria was just stuck in full mount under the bigger guy. And, Bellato was able to get the win there, but he's not going to be able to do that kind of shit to Navajo Stirling. If he's in Navajo Stirling's face, he's going to be taking big shots. He's going to be eating fucking hard punches from Stirling, and Stirling hits a lot harder and is a lot bigger than Potieria. So I like him to get it done here via knockout. Moving along, we've got Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell. Charlie Campbell, I feel like he's the more effective boxer, but Nolan does have good footwork, does have good kicks and punches. He's a solid boxer in his own right. Nolan was threatening submissions and landing good ground and pound against Borshev. So if this fight ends up on the ground, it's not like Nolan is just a fish out of water there. He was landing good shots on Borshev as well. Tom Nolan has made a lot of improvements between the Alex Reyes and the Borshev fight. Those were his last two fights. He looked a lot more measured on the feet against Borshev. He looked slick, dangerous in the striking realm. Both guys are decent grapplers, but neither one has won via submission. And yeah, man, it's just like there's a kind of like a red. I'm picking Tom Nolan, but there's a little red flag with Charlie Campbell. He's got heavy hands. He's capable of knocking him out. But Charlie Campbell had to pull out of the Mauricio Rufy fight due to injury, and he's taking this fight on short notice. Tom Nolan has been more active. He had the full training camp preparing for Evan Elder, who is a very comparable fight style to Charlie Campbell. He's relatively the same size, just a powerful striker, well-rounded, but, a good striker in his own right. Evan Elder, that is. So, it's like a very similar matchup. It's not like he's going from like a striker ended up with like a wrestler or on short notice or vice versa. He kind of has the same kind of stylistic matchup in Charlie Campbell. But yeah, with Charlie Campbell with that injury, there's no source that specifies what kind of injury that it was, a knee injury, shoulder injury, concussion. There's no interviews in which Campbell or his team disclosed any information publicly. Every outlet just reports that Charlie Campbell withdrew due to an injury or undisclosed injury. So if I could tell you guys what happened to Charlie Campbell and what he's coming back from, I would. I don't know if he's coming back from surgery or what, but I'm picking Nolan just because of the unknown with Charlie Campbell. I think that he can be slick enough on the feet to avoid the power shots of Campbell and land effective counters, utilizing his range to his advantage. I was initially picking Campbell at first glance, but after watching tape, taking into account Nolan's improvements, the fact that he had a full camp, I had to switch my pick to Tom Nolan. I just think that he's going to be able to get it done here. I think that he's slick enough on the feet, and I like his skills. Moving along, we got Louie Sutherland versus Justin Tafa. This fucking fight, knock on wood, is not going the distance. I think that these guys are going out there trying to knock the shit out of each other. Louie Sutherland is a gigantic motherfucker. He's huge. He's definitely capable of getting the KO here. The guy's an absolute monster. And, Justin Tafa has only really KO'd cans, man. He isn't that good. He's just powerful. And, this is essentially just a battle of who lands first. Sutherland is he got some decent footwork on him for a big-ass dude. Sutherland is also capable of takedowns, and Tafa can't wrestle for shit. Sutherland has thunderous ground and pound. that was hard to say. Holy fuck. Sutherland has thunderous ground and pound. That's a fucking tongue twister. But yeah, he's got good 12-6 elbows. And, everyone that Tafa has KO'd has been KO'd multiple times. The guys that are susceptible to be KO'd. Sutherland has never been KO'd. Harry Hunsucker has been KO'd multiple times. He was 238 pounds going into that fight. Louie Sutherland is probably cutting weight to get down to 265. The guy's a fucking behemoth. Parker Porter was 37 years old, been knocked out multiple times. Austin Lane, his chin sucks. He's been knocked out multiple times. And then Juan Adams also sucks and has been knocked out multiple times. So it's like Tafa is only KOing these guys that are susceptible to get KO'd. And I think that Louie Sutherland is going to be able to get it done on the feet or just take Tafa down and just ground and pound the shit out of him and just get a stoppage via ground and pound. Because Tafa, he's just going to be like a turtle on his back. So I like Louie Sutherland here. I like him big. I like him by first round TKO, maybe even a second round TKO. But I just like Louie Sutherland by TKO, essentially, is what I'm telling you guys here. But yeah, moving right along. I can't see how he's an underdog. That's fucking insane to me. But he might get knocked the fuck out. Who knows? But I just don't see it. Tafa, he's hit guys before. He's gone to a competitive kickboxing decision with Jared Vandera. He was landing big shots on Vandera. Vandera didn't go down. Tafa doesn't have like Derek Lewis power. He's not just going to fucking hit anybody and they're just sleeping. He's got power, but it's not like just this, oh, I can't get touched or else I'm going to die. I think that Louie Sutherland can get it done here. But yeah, now we got Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny. I like Jake Matthews everywhere. I think that he's better everywhere in this fight, just skill-wise. He's got good cardio, good striking, good wrestling. I think that he can win wherever the fight goes. It would benefit him to stay out of the clinch because that's where Neil Magny has the most success in his fights. Neil Magny looked good against Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos, but I don't know, man. Like Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos is out of his prime. He's kind of past his best days. And I think that Jake Matthews is like in the prime of his career, in the prime of his athleticism and his mind game, his mentality. I think that he's better than ever. And his last fight against Chidi Njokuani was very emphatic. He got an easy submission over Chidi, who's more dangerous on the feet, at least striking wise, than Neil Magny. Neil Magny probably has Neil Magny definitely has better grappling, wrestling, and cardio than Chidi Njokuani, but he's not the same kind of threat on the feet. So Jake Matthews, I feel like he should be able to stay at range, pick Neil Magny apart, potentially even get a TKO if he really lets his hands go. If he really believes in his striking and he tries to go out there and knock out Neil Magny, I really think that he can. But if he's really measured, patient, doesn't really open up, he can beat Neil Magny, but he's going to make it more competitive than it should or could be, So I like Jake Matthews here. I think that he has really good, skills. And I think that he can beat Neil Magny, who, he's pretty hit or miss, He has those wins in the welterweight division, but because the guy is freaking damn near 40 years old and with 38, and, he's been fighting in the UFC for forever. But, so is Jake Matthews. He's been fighting in the UFC for forever, and, he's in his prime, unlike Magny. So I'm picking Jake Matthews to get it done here. We got Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Taveras. Ramon Taveras is a power striker. He's one-dimensional. He's got good boxing. I feel like Jack Jenkins is a more dynamic striker. He's got better kicks, better movement. Taveras was getting picked apart from the outside by Davey Grant. He was getting head kicked, leg kicked, basically fucking styled on by Davey Grant in round one. Taveras was able to drop Davey Grant off of a time leg kick in round two, or in round one or two. But, it wasn't like he dropped him bad. It's just, he kind of caught the kick, landed a right hand, and he let him back up. And, Taveras was getting dog walked by Davey Grant in round three. He's getting fucked up. He was getting boxed up. He was getting kicked up. He was getting pieced up all around. He didn't have much success in round three at all. So, yeah, he's moving up from 135 up to 145. Jack Jenkins has never been KO'd. The only TKO on his record came from an arm injury in a competitive fight with Chepe Mariscal. He was getting taken down and, he framed and then his arm just either broke or something. I think his arm broke against Chepe. Or his elbow dislocated, something along those lines. But yeah, he got finished in his last fight via submission by Gabriel Santos. But Santos is a much better fighter than Ramon Taveras. He's a big fucking Brazilian dude with solid grappling, solid striking, very good Muay Thai. He's a much more well-rounded striker. He utilizes kicks. He's long and rangy. He's a big dude. And Gabriel Santos is a very impressive fighter. It's not really much shame in losing to him. Jenkins even dropped Santos with a head kick and had him badly hurt in round one. He was landing ground and pound and looking for a finish. Ended up getting stuck in a triangle choke and fought out of it. I think Jack Jenkins is overall a better fighter than Ramon Taveras. He's live for a TKO finish or a dominant decision here. I see that he's going to be utilizing his footwork, has a superior kicking game, and solid boxing to pick Taveras apart for as long as the fight lasts. And Jenkins has more high-level success in the UFC. He lost to Santos getting taken down in round 2, because Santos is a high-level grappler. He ended up getting front kicked in the face by Santos in round 3, who has nasty Muay Thai. Like I said, good Brazilian striker, killer grappler. Taveras is not that. He's got good boxing and decent power, hands that you have to respect, and that's about it. But Jack can utilize more weapons than him in the striking. And just watch out for the hands, not get sloppy and get clipped. And Jack Jenkins can get this done, man. I think that he's a lock here. I think that he's live. He minus 300 favorite. I feel like is justified price tag for him. I think that he can definitely get this done against Taveras. But yeah, moving along, co-main event, we got Jimmy Crute versus Ivan Arslan. Arslan, I'm picking Jimmy Crute because, Arslan was controlled by Cutelaba and even Stirling on the ground, who's primarily a kickboxer. Arslan is dangerous on the feet, but I do believe in Crute's ground game and his experience. Arslan doesn't have great takedown defense, and Crute has fought much better guys than Arslan has. But Jimmy Crute is a liability on the feet, man. Like his strike defense is not good. So if he can't get this fight down early and often, he is live to get knocked out, potentially even in round 1 or 2. But, Jimmy Crute's tough. Ivan Arslan's not a Jamal Hill. He's not Alonzo Menafield. But, it's just like, fuck. Yeah. Arslan's been taken down in both of his UFC fights, even against Stirling. So I believe in Crute's ability to get Arslan down to the ground and work for submissions or just, land good ground and pound. And I feel like he can just control him with the grappling here. So, yeah, I'm picking Jimmy Crute. Ivan Arslan, he's got a good right hand. He's got a good striking. He's a big, strong guy. But I think that Jimmy Crute can go ahead and, just take advantage of his holes, but take advantage of the hole in his striking and grappling. I mean, Jesus Christ, take advantage of his holes. What the fuck? Okay. Well, yeah, no. Jimmy Crute is not going to be molesting anybody at UFC Perth, okay? Ivan Arslan, it's fine. He's not going to be sexually assaulted. He's going to get his grappling exploited by Jimmy Crute. Okay, nothing else. His holes will not be manipulated, all right? But yeah, moving on, we got Carlos Ulberg versus Dominick Reyes. Okay. This is the underdog story. This is the Rocky story. This is, the fight that everybody, including myself, wants Dominick Reyes to win, man. But I'm picking Carlos Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg has good lateral movement. He did not fight the same Jan Blachowicz that Reyes did. 5 years ago, when Dominick Reyes got knocked out by Jan, Blachowicz was much faster than he was in the Ulberg fight. And Ulberg was competitive with him, but it still is Jan Blachowicz, even though he's old and slower, but it's still fucking Jan Blachowicz. He's still a good fighter, and he got a win over Volkan Oezdemir as well, hurting him at moments in that fight. But I don't know, man. It's just like Dominick Reyes' wins, I'm just not too impressed with them. Just like apart from Dustin Jacoby is a good win, but like Nikita Krylov just ran right into his punch, and then Anthony Smith was fucking a fight away from retirement. That's not like a great win. And his coach had just died. Even regardless, without all that, like Smith was coming into that fight just not in a good headspace. But the people that Reyes are beating are not in Ulberg's level. Ulberg is very fast, very damn fast. He's got good footwork. This is a southpaw versus southpaw fight. Dominick Reyes, I feel like Dominick Reyes beat John Jones, and he thought, if I can beat John Jones, I can beat anybody. He overlooked Jan. He overlooked Yuri. He ended up getting knocked out in those fights. He got slept by a fucking Ryan Spann jab. Come on, man. It's just like, it would be great. It would be a great comeback story for Dominick Reyes to get this done. It would be an awesome Rocky story. It would be an awesome underdog tale. But it's just like, bro, he's the underdog here for a reason. It's a great story for a reason because he's up against a talented fighter in Ulberg, and he's against the odds here. I just can't trust Reyes' durability against someone as sharp and powerful as Ulberg. Both guys are rangy, fast, and powerful. But I think that Ulberg's just faster. Potentially Dominick could outdog him, make him tired, just make it an ugly fight, really wear on him, just fucking take it to Ulberg and just not let him get comfortable. but I don't know if he can consistently take a shot to give a shot or just consistently pressure Ulberg and get out of the way and defend everything, a la Strickland versus Adesanya, just like really just walk him down, defend everything, and just have a masterclass performance. I just don't see it, man. I'm going to go with Ulberg being the more technical fighter and having had won over higher level competition more frequently and more recently. But yeah, man, I mean, it would be cool to see Dominick Reyes come in and win this fight. But I don't know, man. I'm going Carlos Ulberg. I like his skill set. I feel like he's in his prime. Not that I feel like Dominick Reyes isn't in his prime, but it's just like Carlos Ulberg is only getting better and better. He's just at the peak of his career. But yeah, man, I'm going Ulberg. But let me go ahead and show you guys my picks here. All right, these are my picks. These are my methods of victory here. Ulberg KO, round 3. Groot submission, round 2. Jenkins decision. Matthews decision. Sutherland KO, round 1. Nolan decision. Stirling KO, round 2. Rowston decision. Micallef decision. Bedoya KO, round 2. Thicknesse decision. Montague submission, round 2. Pericic KO, round 1. And Thainara submission, round 2. I wouldn't be surprised to see Thainara, the Thainara Lookboonmee fight go the distance because, Lookboonmee's never been submitted. But, Thainara's ground game is an issue. And she does need to force that wrestling and grappling, or else, Lookboonmee is going to pick her apart on the feet. But those are my full card picks. I really hope that you guys enjoyed my analysis, my breakdowns. I really did try to put a lot of effort into my notes and, my script, essentially, just to read off and have my thoughts well organized. I did ramble a little bit, but, I do appreciate everybody for watching. If you have made it this far, I really do appreciate the fuck out of you, really, truly, sincerely. If you listen to everything that I had to say about all these fights, it does mean a lot. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think about these fights in the comments. What your favorite fight on the card is, who you got between Reyes and Ulberg, or just any other picks that you want to give me, anything you want to talk about. I'll go ahead and answer any comments in the comments section. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for coming through. I'm going to be streaming this week as well, most likely, maybe even tonight, just right after this video, or Wednesday. But yeah, no, I appreciate everybody for coming through. Peace out and enjoy the fights.